The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAST staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to April 20th version of version of Topic Time with Harrison Young. It's a beautiful spring afternoon. Earth Day is in a couple of days. I actually thought it was today for a second. And I have an iconic guest that coming fast and furious. But before I get to him, got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So we got Auto Town, Auto Glass, and Auto Body in Abington. We got Anthony Cycles in Bridgewater. Good to have them back. We got Fadeologist 101 Barbershop in Brockton. We got Lux Car Care in Whitman. We got One Good Credit in Brockton. We got Carver Jewelers in Carver, Ronald R. and Lally Delano Goldsmiths. We got 111 Tattoo Collective in Brockton. We got John's Greenhouses and Flower Shop in Brockton. We got Lynch's Towing, Auto Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. Always looking for new scrap metal wheels, anything my pal Lynchy can do. And I think they're even looking for a new driver too. So keep that in mind. And the numbers, they have numbers for towing and projects, different numbers. We got Aspire Health and Nutrition in Rainham. They're a new one. We got Chapin Sheds in Whitman. We got Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Shadell in Brockton. We got the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We got Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We got Easton Fitness in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got R.W. Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering for us for 50 years. And we got Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And, take a look at the person I'm interviewing. You may know who he is. This is Mr. Ernie Boch Jr. He's a musician. He's a car salesman. He's a basic celebrity in the Boston area and probably worldwide based on what I've heard about him and seen. So Ernie Boch Jr., what an honor it is to have you on my show today.
Well, thank you. That's quite a list of
underwriters. We call them underwriters. Yeah, I know. I'm becoming established. I've been doing this a while. This is my 13th year. Lucky 13th. Knock on wood here, obviously. It was amazing the way we arranged this interview. I talked to your secretary. She was great. She set it up. I never had a go-between before, but obviously that means a lot because you're a very busy guy with a very busy schedule, obviously, and to have somebody to represent you like that, that was as efficient as she was, is quite a blessing, I would say. And I guess you must agree.
Yes. Am I on? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we've been on for the last since I started snapping.
All right. Yeah. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Have you ever seen Topic Time before or heard of it? Because I've reached out to a lot. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people and in the area, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I interviewed Ayla Brown a few years ago, daughter of Scott Brown, former senator and ambassador to New Zealand, whose party that you had at his house to send them off. I had about 150 bigwigs, however many from the Boston area that were in attendance, as I recall. But yeah, I was as well known as I am now. But that must have been great, huh?
Yeah, he's great. Scott's great. The whole family is great. They're amazing. And he was based in New Zealand. Yep. And he asked me to send a bunch of autographed guitars to him, and he set up this like almost like a hard rock, with rock and roll memorabilia. He had full blown Kiss drum set and an Aerosmith drum set. Is a super cool setup. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it. He sent me pics.
Okay, but he's not there anymore. He had to come back when Trump was, ousted.
He had to come back.
Well, did he leave that to anybody in New Zealand? Do you know any people, any cronies over there?
He gave it back. He gave it back to everybody that donated.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So he had it on his mantle during the 4 years he was there.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, Ernie Boch Jr., we're going to talk about you now. Every person is I have my style of interview basically is similar to everybody, regardless of how well known they are. So what I do is I basically profile the people that I'm interviewing, trying to find out what they were like as kids and everything. I know your history as far as the TV commercials and when you're working with the guys from Boston, the band Boston. But I want to find out what you were like as a kid first, and tell, and how it got you. How you use that. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with using some clout from your famous dad to get you where you're at now. But you couldn't have done it without your own accolades as well. So let's talk about that. What were you like as a kid? Where did you grow up? And let's break it down. And if I have any questions pertaining to all of the above, we'll add them in, and that's how we basically profile our guests. So start with that if you would.
I am third generation in the automotive industry. My grandfather started the company in 1938.
Wow.
1938, he started the company, and he actually, what happened was, he is second generation Italian.
Okay.
His father came over on the boat, and he brought his family with him. So my grandfather was always a tinkerer as a kid. He always was fixing things here and there. And he started, as he got into his teens, the automobile was quite new, and he started fixing the automobile for friends and family in his garage in Norwood.
Okay.
And my grandmother used to shag parts. So he had a little side gig, well, actually a main gig in Norwood. And then he got a job at Boston Cadillac on Comm Ave.
In Boston, obviously, right?
And when Comm Ave had all those giant dealerships, all the BU stuff across the street from the actual university, those were all giant auto dealers.
Who knew that Boston had an auto mile all those years ago? I mean, those of us in the modern era might not have known that, but that is fascinating.
It was right there, all those big, beautiful buildings. And he was working there. And then the business, his little side business on the weekends, became bigger and bigger and bigger. And he stopped working at Boston Cadillac and started fixing cars full time. And in 1938, he incorporated and built a little gas station on Route 1, which is now Newbury Comics on Route 1. I still own that building. Newbury Comics on Route 1 housed the first Boch Automotive. It started out as a gas station, and then as my father got out of the Army and his brother got out of the Army, joined my grandfather, their father, on Route 1. And then in the mid-40s, late 40s, a bookkeeper stole $10,000 from the company.
Wow.
And it was devastating, absolutely devastating. My father, my grandfather, they went to the banks to try and get money. Nobody would give them money, and the business was going to fold. So my father at the time was pumping gas at the gas station on Route 1 in Norwood. And this sounds like a crazy fairy tale story, but a gentleman came to get gas, and he looked at my father and he said, "Why so glum?" And my father said, we got money stolen. We're going to have to close the business. And that gentleman was Dominic Sansone from New England Merchant Bank. He talked to my father, and he lent my father the $10,000 to keep the business going. And going forward a little, Dominic and my father were best friends for the rest of his life.
Wow, that's great. And obviously he paid off huge dividends. I always say everything happens for a reason. So that's, I mean, I wouldn't call that a fluke, even though it sounds like it might have been, but that's incredible.
Right. So the business kept going. And then a gentleman came to the gas station and said, "Hey, you should be selling Nash Ramblers, Nash, which turned into Rambler. You should be selling Nash." And they said to my father, "You could probably sell 10 or 12 cars a year." And
by a lot in those days, right?
By the late 50s, my father was selling 6,000 Nashes a year, the #1 Nash dealership in the country.
Okay, I have a question now. My father had a Rambler station wagon, and I got my license in it in 1976. But that's not a Nash Rambler; that was an AMC. Is there a difference? Or if it is, what is it?
It is Nash, and then it went to Rambler, then it went to Chrysler.
Okay.
And then, AMC and all of that. And now what's really funny is that company is owned by the Italians now. Same people that own, Dodge. They own Ferrari and Maserati and Fiat.
Okay, that's great. I mean, it's all. It seems to. The Italians are like a lot of the ethnics that came over in the 19th century. They're a very hardworking group of people, and as it should be. But now let's talk about your childhood, though. I mean, you talked about how your car dealership really thrived after the loan from Dominic. But what did you do as a kid? What were your main goals as a kid? Like how did you get into music and like that? So let's go with that now.
I grew up in Norwood, Massachusetts. I went to public school, public grammar school, public
high school,
public high school. And by then the company, my father had developed the dealerships, but it wasn't a big money thing. It was not a big money thing. He didn't really start to make any money or any big money until the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And I had graduated high school. We got the sun coming in there.
Yeah, you do. Okay, block it. There you go.
I graduated high school in 76. So I grew up as a basically middle-class kid,
right,
in Norwood, Massachusetts. Back then music was different than it is now.
I graduated. I'm a year behind you in school. I have to admit, I'm shocked I thought you were younger than me. You're a year older. That's crazy, but that's all right. I remember it.
So back then, music was different than it is now. I mean, it was the same notes, but it had a different cultural meaning. Back then, back in the 60s and 70s, a song could change the world. It was really, everybody had a garage band. All of my friends, we all had garage bands. Everybody played. High school dances with live music, and it was just different, And right now, the kids have such a different. So many different things they can do, and music isn't. They may listen to it, but not a lot of people play it like they used to. And anyway, I got into it when I was 10 years old. Woodstock happened.
Yep, I remember it.
And that changed my life. Woodstock changed my life, even though I didn't go. But all the news was full of this concert that was happening, and then the record came out, and rock and roll that's what turned me to a rock fan, was Woodstock.
Cool. Okay, so at that point, did you start, taking lessons, playing get acoustic guitar and singing? What did you do? What did you do to make yourself and incorporate yourself into the music world?
Everybody played guitar when I was a kid. Everybody played something.
I played the piano, so I get it. I know.
Played the piano. I have a foundation, Music Drives Us, and it is it's a foundation. We try to keep music in the schools, and it's very important. It's very important for kids to play music and listen to music, not to play music to become rock stars. To play music, it's jumping jacks for the brain. It actually can rewire the brain. It's a different language. Studies have proven kids that take music in school, their graduation rate is higher. They're less violent. They're more communicative. Okay. It's really an amazing thing.
Yep. All right. When did Ernie and the Automatics form? And now you wasn't that an offshoot? You and Barry Goudreau, didn't you form that band?
That band. What happened is I had stopped. I played music all through high school,
right?
And then I started to work in the early 80s, and I stopped. I stopped playing music. I stopped being in bands because I was getting older, and I wasn't that good anyway. And then in the late early 2000s, I got a call I'm sorry, I don't know the foundation, but what they did is they asked people around Boston that played to play with the Pops.
Okay.
the Boston Pops.
Boston Pops, right.
They called me up and they said, "Hey, how would you like to play with the Boston Pops?" They had a bunch of people playing. Keith Lockhart was, is the conductor still.
Right.
And I said to myself, wow, that sounds good. And I hung up and I realized I hadn't touched the guitar in 10, 15 years.
Uh-huh.
So I said to myself, what the hell am I going to do? So I called my friend John Finn, who is the guitar player for the Pops.
Okay.
And I said, John, I got myself in a little hot water here. I don't know what I'm going to. He says, don't worry, Ernie, I'll help you out. And, we worked out a song and I played with the Pops, and it was really cool. It kind of invigorated me. And I started playing again. And then I had this friend, Jeff Myro, who knew a lot of the guys, a lot of the musicians from the North Shore. Yep. And he said to me, hey, you would really like my friend Sibby Hashian from the multi.
You mean Sib Hashian, right?
Yeah, Sib Hashian from the multi-platinum band Boston. And when I met Sib, we got along, boy. We became instant friends. And he said to me for almost 2 years, hey, I hear you play. Let's play. I said, Sibby, you've sold millions of records. I don't play that well. No. And we kept hanging out and everything. And finally one day, I don't know what happened. He convinced me. He said, let's play. So just me and him, guitar and drums. And we played. And he goes, wow, that's kind of cool. He said, why don't we bring I got a friend, he plays guitar. Why don't we have him join us? And Barry Goudreau.
Barry Goudreau, of course.
I go, Barry Goudreau, who's, I don't know how many records he sold, 30 million, 40 million records. Yep. And then it was just me, Barry, and Sib, and we kind of played and we had fun. It was just an enjoyable experience. And Barry said, geez, we need a bass player. And he says, how about Tim Archibald? And I had I had heard of Tim Archibald. He played in Newman. He was, on the Boston scene, did a lot of studio stuff. I said, holy shit. So bam, now it's me, Sibby, Barry, and Tim Archibald. Wow. And then we did our first gig. In that thing, we backed up James Montgomery.
Love that music.
James, when I first started playing, James embraced me. I had only known James as the guy that had been playing in the market forever, and played with everybody. And we backed him up a little, and then Barry and Sib said we should get a singer. And they said Brian Mays. I said, holy shit, Brian Mays, who was in a bunch of bands with Barry. And then we did that, and Brian came in, and Brian said we should get a sax player. And then it says tunes with the John Cafferty Beaver Brown band. So here I am accidentally with, guys, if you add it all up, probably sold, I don't know, 70, 80 million records. And it kind of just happened. And
everything happens for a reason, Ernie. Right. I always say that, but okay.
Particular band, what happened was we were rehearsing. And, because of my, being around town and the media and everything, I had told somebody that I was playing. One thing leads to another, and I get a call to open up for B.B. King. Our first gig was to open up for B.B. King at the Opera House.
Okay, that's in Boston too, right?
Right, and then it just took off from there. It was kind of an accident. It wasn't supposed to happen. And then I said, holy shit, this is cool, playing these theaters. And then I made it my project to get this band to play theaters across the country. And that's what we did. Our last gig, we toured with North America with Deep Purple.
Oh man, that's so cool. See, wow. And what an elaborate explanation too. Well, how's everything? Well, let's talk about the other stuff. Like your commercials are pretty cool. You have your children, are they adults or are they because I saw I was really moved by that commercial with the little girl. I thought was your daughter who gave the little piece of cheese to the aunt.
You're talking about the animated spots.
Yes, the animated spots, correct.
The animated spots I started doing. I have a good relationship with PBS, and I've been supporting PBS ever since I've been supporting anything. Okay. And I, what you do when you support PBS is they have 15-second spots that they run in support of you supporting them. And I said to myself, well, I get my kids here. They're really young. They watch PBS. They love PBS. When I was a kid, I watched
Mr.
PBS.
Rogers, I watched it every day.
Right, all that stuff. And so I started doing the live kids in an animated world.
Okay.
My PR girl, Peggy, introduced me to Peter Reynolds from Fablevision.
Okay.
Just out of the blue, I met Peter and I told him my idea, and he said, Ernie, I can do what you want. So the first spots were my kids live in an animated world. And then I decided to animate everybody. And we animated everybody, and we did these little learning spots that, were kind of cool.
Yep.
And then it's kind of like, and the kids started growing. The kids, I mean, the little Kelsey and Alex are 19 and 21 now.
Yeah,
Bart Simpson's like 36.
Yep. Wow.
So I froze them. I froze them at that particular time when they're kids, and we continue to support PBS, and we continue to do the animated spots as inspirational learning tool. I don't know.
That's it. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure it is. So how's the car? Are you still running the car business today? How's that going?
I sold my retail stores. I had the #1 Honda store on the planet, the #2 Toyota store on the planet. And I sold all my retail except for my Ferrari and Maserati. If you see anything that says Boch except my Ferrari and Maserati, they license my name.
Wow. Well, okay, but that means that it's not illegal. They paid for it.
Yeah, no, it's not illegal at all. It's great.
It is great. Oh, cool. Okay.
They're a good operation. They sell a lot of cars. It's good. I still send my friends there, but my retail is Ferrari, Maserati, along with importing Subarus to New England.
Sweet. From wherever they come from. I have a Subaru. I drive I have to get my window switch. After my car failed the emissions and the engine blew. And I'm not saying Subaru is a bad car. I'm saying I should have taken better care of it. Now I got to get a new window switch because otherwise I'm going to sweat my butt off during the summer. Yeah. So I also hear you doing the top countdown for songs on Kiss 108. That's pretty awesome. How are you doing that for?
Yeah, me and Billy, we do that. I kind of like that. Billy Coster is the best.
He's awesome. I'd love to get him on the show too.
He's absolutely the best. And I do the top 5 countdown with him every week. And I kind of like it because it keeps me connected to, the pop music, which, is great and everything, but I'm a classic rock guy. You know what I mean? I don't really listen to much after 74.
Really? Wow. Well, I mean, speaking for myself, I love the top 40 stuff. I love the music. My only problem with music today is that there are so many collaborations that you can't keep track of all the people who, the bands. Some of them have names. You get Justin Bieber, Kid Leroy, Martha Stewart, whatever. I mean, they're all great sounding bands, and I listen to them every day when I work out and have breakfast. And I listen to Billy, and I listen to the other stations too. I had Josh Dolan on the show a few weeks ago. He was a DJ at WAF for almost 10 years, and now he's up in New Hampshire, and he has this podcast called BreakingTheIce.com. You may know, that's his pod. I don't know if it's .com, but you may know him, Josh Dolan.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him, but I understand what you mean. But again, I read the top 5, so I kind of know what's happening. Miley.
Of course you do. Yeah, and you're great at it too.
It's a great song. Yeah.
It is. I mean, to say that nothing past 74. I mean, great music. The people that are making great music today. I mean, I love music from all eras. I love radio stations that play even stuff from the 40s. If like Stonehill, where you probably know Mikey V, who got educated at Stonehill, who's now him and his brother do Kiss 108 in the afternoon. And I was actually profiled on Dirty Water Media a few years ago with him. Nice. Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. So that's what you're doing now. You sold those. How into the businesses are you for the car sales? I guess you're there every day, pretty much 5 days a week.
Like I said, I have Ferrari and Maserati, and I import Subarus to the 6 states of New England. Half the Subarus come from Japan, and half the Subarus come from Indiana. And right now in New England, the #1 selling car in New England is Toyota.
Okay.
The number 2 selling car is Subaru.
Okay, maybe I should trade up and get a Toyota.
Well, let's not go crazy here.
Okay.
But I mean, that's pretty good for the 6 states, considering, Subaru beat Honda, which is really, incredible. Honda has almost twice as many dealers as Subaru.
Okay, but you own the Honda, you own the Subaru and the Ferrari dealer, right? Or the
No. I import Subarus to the 6 states of New England.
You import them, okay.
Import them, and then I have a Ferrari and a Maserati retail store.
Okay, I understand. All right. That importing must be, I mean, you from all over the country and the world. What is the process like? You have to, you do it all online, or you actually have to meet people all over the country to bring the cars in?
No. I import to just the 6 states of all the Subarus that come into New England.
Right.
Come to me. Half of them come from Japan,
Yep.
the port in Rhode Island, and half of them are made in Indiana, and we bring them by rail.
Okay.
And then we distribute them to the dealers. The dealers buy the Subarus from me.
Sweet. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm staying with Subaru. I've been driving a Subaru now for 15 years, and no matter what, it gets me where I need to go. I depend on it for my work too, so I understand, and I'm very happy with it. In spite of my, and I got to be more attentive to my automotive needs, because if I'm not, then it's going to cost me, an arm and a leg, obviously. So, well, on that note, Ernie, we're under 5 minutes. I hope it was great talking to you. I hope you had fun talking to me.
I mean, this is a cool little thing. I love the background. It literally looks like you're outside.
I know it does. Well, you've done TV before. You know how a green screen works, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yep. It's good. But again, what I said at the beginning, I'm honored to be here. I don't get to do these things that much, and I appreciate it.
And I appreciate it too. Well, what I want you to do in the remaining time is just give a few shouts out to people. And I expect lots of people are going to see the show, because it's, I mean, I've been hyping this as much as I could, and I think it's gonna pay off huge dividends, at least in terms of views, and hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. You never know. You
Well,
never know.
You got to give shouts out to the people in your life, your family, your colleagues at the dealerships, probably Billy and people at Kiss 108.
I've done a lot of projects, and some projects that I think, are great projects get absolutely no traction. And then projects that I've done that I'm like, a little wishy-washy about, get great traction. You never know.
Well, at least they'll know you talk to me about it, and then they'll say, hey, we don't want to overlook anything that he does, because it's pretty important.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I'm doing. I'm just about to sign a contract with Access TV. Do you know Access TV?
Yes.
Mark Cuban's network. I'm doing a music
Owner
travel.
of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I'm doing a music travel show called Life in 6 Strings.
Sweet. Okay.
So it's interviewing great guitar players on and traveling. It's going to be a cool show. If everything goes well, it'll premiere in October on Access TV.
If it premieres on the 3rd, that's my birthday, and that would be awesome.
Nice.
Well, Ernie, listen, I had a great time talking to you. I'd love to, if you could, send some people my way if possible. I mean, I like to think that this is a big up kick in my world of broadcast media, talking to you like this. All
right. Well, I appreciate you having me on.
So, is there anything you want to mention, that's coming up in the next, few weeks in your life that, that might be important before we wrap it up? Go ahead.
I think we covered it all. I think it's all good.
Okay. All right.
Everybody be good out there. Everybody be safe. Be nice to each other, and we're going to have a great time.
I have one favor to ask you after we finish up. Would you mind sticking around and doing a couple of pics for Facebook?
No problem.
All right. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up topic time with this legendary interview. More to come, so stay tuned for next time. Have a good one. Signing off. Bye-bye.